Right, I want my MTV, the phrase synonymous with music television. Entertainment giant MTV has always enjoyed a dominant position in Europe's music entertainment industry, but is it now facing competition from domestic channels such as France's M6 and Germany's Viva? Competition not having been a serious threat before, how's MTV going to ensure it still heads the ratings? Joining us now, Bill Roedy, President, MTV Networks International out of Davos. Bill, thanks a lot for being with us. How are your ad revs looking, especially in Europe? One, we've got the slowdown that you've got to take into account economically, not just the US, but happening in Europe as well. Then, of course, competition for you guys in Europe is becoming stiffer and stiffer. How's it looking on the ad side?
Well, I think, you know, in this climate, economic climate, it's always important to look at the long term. There are cycles, notwithstanding the huge boom years we've had. But with that being said, we see very little effect on our business. In fact, fourth quarter was our largest, most successful quarter in the history of our business internationally. And I think a couple of things go into that. Our projections for the year we're still holding by for 2001, and they will be even bigger and better than last year, and caused partly because we're still developing a large part of our network worldwide. We launched 6 channels. For example, in the last 4 months, we're launching 3 more in the first 3 months. So we're developing that market. We'll see share shift. What also helps the share shift, frankly, is when you have uncertain economic times, people tend to scrutinize their budgets more, and our networks, our niche, MTV, VH1, Nickelodeon, niche target laser marketing provides an advertiser really a much more efficient way to spend their money.
All right, Bill.
And then thirdly, I think it's also, it's also important to point out that, you know, a full 40% of our revenue is non-advertising, you know, and while advertising is one of our key growth indicators, and all the indicators are good for that, we have a highly predictable revenue stream with our non-advertising. As it relates to the competition, we've been fighting competition now for 10 years. There are literally hundreds of music channels. We're quite used to it. Some of those music channels, by the way, are not competitive. Some of them are.
Let's look at some of those.
Wake up every morning trying to beat that competition.
Sure, you do.
We feel quite comfortable.
All right, let's look at some of that competition, though. Viva in Germany, M6 and TF1, they have been making a headway. We're looking at more regional programming in Europe. Clearly, this is affecting your bottom line in Europe.
Well, it's very important to point out, when you say local programming, I'll just review quickly the strategy of MTV. It has been for 10 years. There's 3 legs to the stool. First and foremost, it is local. We are a global company, but we're a grassroots global company in that we have over 60 individual unique channels around the world, and the emphasis is on local content. It's purely programmed and decided upon on a local basis. And we combine that with what no other channel can do, music, children's, or whatever, and that is a link to the bigger picture, the international perspective, which our audience always craves for. And we do that because we have the 60-some-odd channels around the world and growing that channel. And then the third leg is a series of very powerful brands, MTV, Nickelodeon, VH1, that resonates in a very powerful way on a global basis, but also resonates in a very powerful way in a local basis. And that local connection is manifested by our ratings and by our viewers. In every major market around the world, we lead our competition. And again, our competition sometimes helps the overall market, so we don't look at it always as a direct competitor.
All right, Bill, I'm going to have to stop you. If you could stay with us, we'll try and get you back after the break. We've got to take this break. Bill Roedy will be with us right after this. Stay with us. Let's get straight back to Davos. Bill Roedy, President, MTV Networks International, is still there on the show. Bill, thanks for staying with us. Let me ask you first now, when we pick up again, what you're up to there in Davos. You got any deals in the making there?
Well, the main reason I'm in Davos, actually, is under my other role, which is as chair of the Global Business Council's fight against HIV and AIDS. And it's something that I took on many years ago. It's something that MTV has been very concerned about because fully half of all new infections worldwide are below the age 25, which unfortunately is our audience. And our audience is obviously very, very concerned about the spread of this terrible epidemic. And one of the things that I'm trying to do in this role with the Global Business Council is to mobilize business to do more. And just to give an analogy, you know, if you believe some figures, over $100 billion was spent on Y2K by businesses and governments around the world over a year ago. And if we just spent $3 billion, 3% of that, we could get a much better handle on this. So business really has to do much more.
All right, yeah, you're right. Business does have to do more. What's Viacom doing, for example?
Well, primarily through MTV, one of my main messages to all businesses is play to your strengths. It's not necessarily just giving money, although money is important, but play to your strengths. In MTV's case, we have a potential audience worldwide of 1 billion young people. So we use that vehicle, we use all that distribution to program our messages, which are principally awareness on prevention, educating young people to guard themselves, to prevent themselves from getting HIV. Also anti-discriminatory messages, which are very, very important, and complacency, which unfortunately complacency is rife throughout the world because of the advent of treatment, and people don't understand exactly all the repercussions of treatment. So we devote quite a bit of our programming, and we license it free, by the way, and give it to as many broadcasters who will take that programming. So, for example, just one example of many, we produced a program called Staying Alive. It was our second edition in December. In addition to running it on all the MTVs around the world, potential audience of 1 billion, heavy rotation, we call it, we also gave it free to all broadcasters, CCTV in China, SABC in South Africa, added another 1 billion people who could see this program, and it's been terrific that they've been able to do that. And
Mr. Roedy,
I could just sum it up, if I may, by saying if we could save just one life, if we could just change one life with that program, then to us that's worthwhile.
Excellent. Right, thanks for that. Sorry to jump in. It's Daniel Mann in the newsroom.
No, it's okay.
I just wanted to take you back to, you said you were going to expand the channels. Doing this, are you in danger of taking shine off your premium MTV and VH1 channels by adding new ones?
Well, not at all. I mean, the great thing that's happening in the world today, as we've all heard about, is this digital evolution. And even outside the U.S., you see markets that are more penetrated and are ahead. So just to pick one of our markets, for example, in the UK, we have 6 digital channels, 6 music channels, and they complement each other. And we cross-program, we cross-promote, and they're targeted niche. They're not just cannibalizing, if you will. They're brand new services with brand new genre. And the digital platforms, not only in England, but throughout Europe and even now in Asia and soon in Latin America, are giving us a tremendous opportunity to expand our offerings to consumers, which not only gives a better connection to consumers, of course, but also gives us another outlet for advertising.
All right, Bill, many thanks for joining us. Bill Roedy, President MTV International, joining us from Davos. Many thanks.